What was the fate of the famous ancient library, and what did it have that made it so special? We will answer these questions in this video, so watch it till the end. But before we begin, let us give you an interesting fact about the ancient world. Do you know that Cleopatra lived only 33 days in her own tomb? Well, if you don't believe us, then watch our video till the end, where we'll tell you more about it. The Great Library of Alexandria. It is a phrase synonymous with lost knowledge, a monumental repository of the world's collected wisdom until it burned to the ground, taking all of humanity's accumulated knowledge with it. Or maybe not. Despite its reputation for being home to every book ever written, the ancient Egyptian library may not have been quite as extensive as popularly imagined. And while it's generally accepted that the library was destroyed by fire, new evidence suggests it wasn't the cataclysmic event history has remembered it as. In fact, some researchers even say that its destruction was exaggerated or entirely fabricated. The truth of what happened to the Great Library of Alexandria is difficult to discern, because there is no single agreed-upon timeline of its rise and fall. Most historians agree that it was founded sometime around the year 283 BC by Ptolemy I, a general of Alexander the Great who took over Egypt after his death. After seizing control, Ptolemy decided to transform Alexandria into the cultural capital of the known world. Part of this involved establishing a library that would house not only every book in Egypt, but every book in the world. Ptolemy also established a museum, a temple dedicated to the Muses, the goddesses of science and arts, and Greek mythology, which included a lecture hall, a dining hall for scholars, and living quarters for resident researchers. The Great Library and Museum were supposed to be centers of learning and research, a place where scholars from all over the Mediterranean could come to study and exchange ideas. But almost immediately, Ptolemy ran into a problem. He didn't have enough books. To solve this problem, he reached out to Demetrius of Phalerum, a scholar living in Athens who had amassed a large collection of books. Ptolemy offered him the job of running the new library and essentially ordered him to fill it up. Demetrius traveled throughout the eastern Mediterranean, acquiring books wherever he could find them. He reportedly paid people handsomely to bring him their books, and even went so far as to bribe officials in Athens to divert shipments of papyrus rolls intended for religious sacrifices to his personal collection. By the time he finished, Demetrius had acquired over 400,000 books for the library. It's unclear how long the library remained open, or how extensive its collection ultimately became, but according to legend, it was destroyed 3 times. The first destruction occurred in 247 BC, when Julius Caesar set fire to part of the city during his civil war with Pompey. Plutarch, a Greek historian writing in the 1st century AD, said that Caesar set fire to the library accidentally, while his ships were docked nearby. When the fire broke out, a librarian named Aristarchus tried to extinguish the flames with water, but the fire spread too quickly and soon engulfed many of the library's scrolls. According to Plutarch, half of the library's collection was lost in the blaze, but Demetrius, who was still in charge of the library at the time, managed to save the rest. The second destruction came 100 years later, when the Roman general Avidius Cassius rebelled against Marcus Aurelius. During the siege of Alexandria, Cassius's soldiers set fire to part of the city, destroying much of the library. Again, most accounts claim that only part of the collection was lost, but the third and supposedly final destruction of the library is often portrayed as a total loss. It is thought to have taken place between 391 and 405 AD, when the city fell to the invading armies of Cyrus the African. Christian fundamentalists, led by Theophilus, the leader of Alexandria, rampaged through the city, burning pagan temples and other symbols of what they saw as false gods. While historical accounts differ on exactly what happened to the library, most agree that it was seriously damaged. The chronicler John Malalas wrote that those who opposed the Christians were killed, their property confiscated, and the pagans' holy books were burnt. If this is true, then the Great Library would have been a prime target. The story goes that one of the monks suggested sparing the library since its books contained nothing but idle tales. But Theophilus wanted all pagan texts destroyed and paid no heed to the suggestion. According to Malalas, 40,000 volumes were consumed by the fire, although other sources claim that the library was completely destroyed. So why do some modern scholars argue that the library never burned down at all? First off, there is no archaeological evidence that any structure in Alexandria was destroyed by fire during the relevant time periods. While excavations have uncovered the remains of two major libraries in Alexandria, neither shows signs of having been burnt. One of these was a small private library belonging to the poets, a possible illegitimate son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who died in the late 1st century BC. The other is believed to be part of the Serapeum, a temple dedicated to the god Serapius, that housed a vast collection of religious texts. Given that neither library dates to the period in which the Great Library is believed to have existed, researchers hypothesize that both structures were destroyed for different reasons than the Great Library. Some researchers even dispute the existence of the Great Library itself. David Woodward, an American architectural historian, argues in his book, Losing Alexandria, that the entire concept of a Great Library in Alexandria is a myth concocted centuries after the fact by medieval writers looking to revive interest in classical scholarship. Some historians attribute the myth to a misunderstanding of the ancient descriptions of the Royal Library of Ptolemy II, which some say was actually a single room housing only a portion of the royal collection. This is based on the writings of Strabo, a Greek geography professor, who visited Alexandria in the 1st century BC. He described it as a single chamber measuring 100 cubits by 40 cubits, or roughly 30 by 12 meters. With books stored on shelves along the walls and visitors reading them in the middle of the room. Strabo also wrote that anyone visiting the library could read any book they wanted, but that they could borrow books only under very specific circumstances. Others attribute the myth to ancient descriptions of the museum, a complex of buildings where scholars could live and work, and which happened to house a large collection of books. This is supported by the writings of Pliny the Younger, a Roman statesman who claimed that the museum was one of the largest libraries in the ancient world, though he may have been referring to the Royal Library. Regardless, these alternative explanations are controversial. The chamber described by Strabo seems too small to hold even a fraction of the books attributed to the library, and there's no reason to think that Ptolemy II would want to keep such a massive collection in one small room. Furthermore, there's no reason to doubt that Strabo was describing the Great Library, given that he explicitly mentions it in his text. As for the claim that the library was destroyed by fire, there's evidence to support that. 2. Not only does the ancient historian Ammianus Marcellinus mention the library being destroyed by fire, but Byzantine historians like John Malalas and George Syncellus mention the destruction of the Temple of Serapis, which housed many of the library's books. So what really happened to the library? Because there's no single agreed-upon timeline of the library's rise and fall, it's hard to say for sure. But whatever happened, it's unlikely that everything was lost forever. While it's plausible that the library's collection was greatly reduced by fire, whether accidentally or intentionally, the idea that every single book was destroyed is highly unlikely. Even if every single book in the library was destroyed, the books themselves may not have been irreplaceable. Many of the texts in the library were standard works that have been copied numerous times, and copies surely survived in other places. Regardless, the extent of the library's destruction is uncertain and its fate remains a mystery. For now, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, stay tuned. And now, it is time to fulfill the promise we made to you at the beginning of this video. Are you ready? Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, lived only 33 days in her tomb. However, she didn't immediately pass away after the famous incident with the venomous snake. She passed away in 30 BC, most likely due to a venomous snake bite. However, her body was never placed in her tomb. Instead, it was initially preserved using natural materials like honey and spices. Her body was kept in a stone coffin in the mortuary temple of her father, where it remained for several days before burial. According to historical accounts, her tomb was robbed multiple times, further contributing to the mystery surrounding her final resting place. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching.